Hi, this is Pam from the Birch Cottage blog. In this video tutorial, I would like to show you how to make these easy rustic wood frame Christmas ornaments. First, let's take a look at the supplies that you will need. You'll need printer paper, some cardstock. I actually use some comic book board, and you'll also want some twine or ribbon that you'll use as the hanger for your ornaments. And I found after trying hot glue, wood glue, and craft glue that craft glue works the best, so you'll want some craft glue. And you'll need your pieces of wood, 4 pieces of wood, each cut 3 inches long, or whatever length to obtain the size ornament that you want to create. You'll also need some Christmas images, whether they're PDFs or JPEGs. And of course, you'll need some twine or ribbon to hang your ornaments with. As far as the tools go, you'll need a miter saw to cut your wood strips down into the appropriate size. If you don't have a miter saw, you could certainly use a hand saw, or you could ask Home Depot or your favorite home improvement store to cut your wood for you. You'll also need a printer so you can print out your Christmas prints, a pair of scissors, and I find a paper trimmer works really well for trimming all your papers. And a ruler may come in handy, and a utility knife if you're not using a paper trimmer. The first thing that you'll want to do is to prepare your wood. Let me talk a minute about the kind of wood that you can use for these ornaments. I had some strips of walnut wood that I got from my husband's wood shop, honestly, and I had him cut down into 3-inch strips. But you can use any kind of wood. There's molding, there's dowel rods, there's the little trim that goes in wooden screen doors. So just check your hardware store and find the wood that you think would look best for your ornaments. And then if you're going to stain them, you'll want to go ahead and stain them, cut them first, and then stain them and let them dry before you proceed on with. All right, once you have your wood frame pieces cut to size, you're ready to glue them together. Simply put some craft glue on the end and apply pressure and just hold them together for a few seconds, and then continue that, applying glue to your wood strips and forming your frame. One of the nice things about this craft glue is that it dries clear. So it's really easy to work with these wood. It holds really well, bonds together well, and it dries quickly. So I just kind of squeeze, apply some pressure, wipe off any of the excess glue. And then you'll notice I have them laying on these little cardboards. Well, I didn't leave them on there. I kind of removed them quickly so they didn't stick to the paper. While your frames are drying, it's time to prepare our prints for framing. For my rustic wood frame Christmas ornaments, I used a combination of PDF documents and some JPEG images. So let's take a look at how to resize those so we can use them in our framed Christmas ornaments. This is a PDF document that I downloaded and opened in my browser. I only want to print the second page of it, so for pages I go to Custom and specify page number 2. Under More Settings, and then I'll scroll down to where it says Scale, and then enter my custom setting size. So you can say 50, 20, 30, 40, whatever percentage that you want to print your document so that it'll fit within your frame. And then when you're ready, you just click on Print. So for this JPEG image, or actually it's a PNG, but it's an image file, do the same thing. I go to Print, and my printer dialog will open up, and depending on what printer and what software you're running, yours will look differently. 2x3 wallet way actually fit this, so for my paper size I selected 8.5 by 11, and for the photo size I say it's a 2x3, and then I want it to shrink to fit into that size, and then just click on Print, and I have that ready to go. So now I'm ready to cut out my prints and to cut out the cardstock paper, or I use comic book board to size to fit on my back of my frame. So they're about 3 3/4 inches. I'm just going to cut one of the cardstock for each of the frames that I'm going to make, and I'm going to cut out my images to fit within those frames too. I find that the paper cutter, the paper trimmer, works really well for this. And just to double check, I've got my ruler handy. I can measure those down so that they'll fit on the backs of my frames really nicely. and just continue cutting those and getting them cut down to size so that they're ready to be framed. And here I'm using a piece of the cardstock that I'm using for the backing on my Christmas ornament as kind of a guide to make sure I have my images centered and I'm cutting them at the correct size. Continue trimming your images until you have them all cut or trimmed to the correct size for your frames. All right, finally we're ready to glue these all together and make our Christmas ornaments. So take one of your prints and apply glue on the front of the print along the entire front edge. All four sides along the front, just run a bead of glue along each edge. Once you have glue along each edge, you're going to take your print and lay it face down. Take your frame and center it over your print and then apply some gentle pressure. Turn it over and run your fingers along the edges and wipe off any excess glue. Now repeat this for each of the prints that you want to frame. Apply glue to all four edges on the front, lay your print down, and then place your frame over the top of it, centering your print. Apply gentle pressure, remove any excess glue off the back, and then lay them face down to dry. For some reason, I failed to record where I would attach the ribbon or the twine to the back of these frames. I simply cut a piece of twine about 7 inches long, folded it in half, applied a good amount of glue to the ends of the twine, and then applied them to the top center of the back of the frame. And then I continued with putting the backing on each of my frames. Be sure to apply a good amount of glue along the edges of your backing. Again, I use comic book board, but you can use cardstock or anything that you want to use for the backing. You could even use felt. Just be sure to use a good amount of glue, apply pressure, and allow your frame to dry face down. Thank you for watching my YouTube video on DIY rustic wood frame Christmas ornaments. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. If you have questions, please be sure to leave them in the comments below. I'd also love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and come over to the Birch Cottage blog and subscribe to my newsletter so you'll be the first to know about new creative ideas.